Father Stephen, our topic for this talk is the Church's dogma. Dogma meaning teachings that to be an Orthodox Christian, you must accept as being absolutely and universally true, that is, always and everywhere true, and true for everyone. But today, most people probably feel that truth is relative, that there are different truths for different people. Your truth, my truth, that's, I don't want to invalidate your truth, that's
right.
True for you.
Sensitive to your truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Doesn't our church's claim to be the one true church and the one true faith seem very out of step with the times and a little bit chauvinistic?
We're certainly out of step with the times. St. Athanasius said, "We serve not the times but God." And regarding all this tolerance for everybody's relative truth, Aristotle says that tolerance is the last virtue of a dying culture. When you see an extremely tolerant society, they tolerate every kind of belief, every kind of behavior, you know that that's the last stages, they're about to die. So it's not a sign of vitality, it's not a sign of health, it's a sign of morbidity and destruction. We even know this from Aristotle, who's a pagan, right? That we have so much tolerance today, including tolerance for so-called relative truths, multiple truths, and so forth, is not the sign of growth or progress. It's a sign of death. Death of the mind, death of the soul, death of society. As a matter of fact, these high priests of relativism, in their actual behavior toward us, are very dogmatic. They're very dogmatic about their relativism. So these high priests, these enforcers of so-called free thinking, really just hate the truth.
Well, the idea of the truth.
Or the idea that there is truth, but specifically the Christian truth, the Christian revelation. Okay.
Now, of course, the new religion or the new truth is science.
Supposedly.
The high priest of Bill Nye, the science guy, and,
yes,
and others.
Yes.
So Carl Sagan was the one of my generation.
Carl Sagan, of course. Carl Sagan. This is not real science. This is scientism.
Explain the difference between science and science.
Scientism is a naive belief that we can arrive at the really real through the empirical method. Empirical is from the Greek empiria, meaning sense experience, right? So this idea, this crude empiricism. Well, I only believe, what I see in a test tube or what is arrived at in a scientific study. A study says that, so it's true. The scientists are the new high priest of this new religion. So this scientism is based on two pillars, two suppositions. One is that only empirical data or empirical method gives truth. And the other is that all truth is relative, because science keeps changing, right? There are always new findings, so truth is relative. But both of these suppositions are self-contradictory.
They can't both be true.
No. They contradict them. Each one contradicts itself. Because when you say only empiricism yields truth, that itself is a metaphysical assumption. That can't be true. That can't be proved empirically.
Right.
You've already got a metaphysical or epistemological assumption, right? Then the idea that all truth is relative, well, that's an absolute statement. So why should I believe you, right? So
that's scientism.
That's scientism.
What is real science?
Well, real science limits itself to what the scientific method can really reveal, which is a very limited understanding of phenomena, the things that appear to our senses, and they're analyzed by scientific method, and you arrive at some limited understanding of what's going on. And true scientists are humble, and they realize, well, this doesn't reveal what all of life is about. Right? It only reveals a little bit about what we can learn about these phenomena based on these limited temporal methods that we call science.
But it's still empirical in the sense that real science is based on experience.
It's based on experience, and therefore it cannot yield ultimate truth.
And a real scientist knows that his knowledge is limited to what the experiment...
Real scientists know this, and cutting-edge scientists in most fields realize that the more they know, the less they know. That there's more and more mystery. However, the problem is the scientific establishment is in bed with, so to speak, the power brokers of this world. Mm-hmm. And these men don't want to lose their jobs. They don't want to lose their grants. So they're willing to propagate all kinds of lies to the public to keep their jobs and keep their positions of power. This is something we talk about in Orthodox survival course, the co-opting of science and technology by anti-Christian power centers, which is something we can talk about later in our course.
Now,
it's a deep subject.
A real scientist will question everything. Will question even his own experiments.
He should be.
Or another scientist.
He should be humble, right.
And question and
should be humble.
Maybe even doubt, but
yes.
Go on the experiment. Now, a Christian, we're to accept at face value or accept the authority of the church without question. And now, a real scientist has freedom, right? A scientist has freedom to do experiments and to discover things. What about a Christian? Is our freedom not abrogated?
Well, what's your definition of freedom? Yes, I'm free to ignore you. When you say, there's a lot of traffic here, don't cross the street till the light changes. I say, well, I'm free. How dare you tell me what to do? I'm going to cross the street and I get run over by a Mack truck. Okay? Well, I exercise my freedom to ignore you, but I wasn't really free because I was imprisoning myself in untruth. By accepting the church's teaching, we're liberating our souls from falsehood and we're accepting the truth. That doesn't mean, now this phrase, this expression, without question, is not the church's teaching. The church is not a cult. It's not an authoritarian sect where we're just mindlessly, robotically accepting everything that we hear. Okay? When people come to me and say, well, I feel guilty because I'm questioning the church's teaching, so you shouldn't feel guilty. That's part of growing as a mature Christian. God created the mind. God wants us to ask these questions in order to more deeply interiorize our faith. But we start from the vantage point, or we start from the supposition the church is trustworthy. We trust the church. She's our mother. The Holy Fathers are loving and wise teachers. So we start with the presupposition that we should trust the church, but we have to use our minds. And if we use our minds properly, and we're taught properly by the church, then this doesn't lead to greater skepticism or agnosticism. It leads to more profound belief because the church does have answers. Everything that is true belongs to the church.
Let's say you want to accept the church's authority. You're questioning it, but you want to believe. Let's say that's a childlike faith, and you want to believe. Where do you start, and where do you systematically start to? Well,
systematically, we have to start with the church's basic teachings. It's amazing how many people want to question the church, but they don't even know the creed, can't even recite it, or they've never studied the catechism.
The creed, the first ecumenical.
The symbol of faith, the Niceno-Constantinopolitan Creed, right? So let's get back to basics. Before people want to start questioning the church, let's go back, read the creed. There's a basic catechism, the law of God, in English. Buy that, read the section on the creed. You can go online. We'll give everybody this URL. You can go online and get the Catechism of Metropolitan Philarete of Moscow. That's the basic catechism of an approved catechism of the church. And also I have a sermon series on the creed that we can listen to. So let's start with that, and remember that the truth will set us free. By not having to reinvent the wheel, not inventing my own truth, but accepting God's revealed truth, I'm at peace. Because the idea that you're constantly inventing your own truth is not liberating, it's actually very imprisoning, it's very oppressive. But by accepting God's truth, we become free.